Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate the welcome and everybody's kind words earlier today. I always enjoy Tim Barry's fiscal report, the state auditor. It's always great information, gives a good overview of what the state's going on or what's going on with the state this year. I also like that Hoosier Start logo with the basketball and the IndyCar and the cornfields. I think there's a few state icons that probably could be added in there, maybe like a bust of, I don't know, whomever, Hoagie Carmichael, something like that. But I also just wanted to say I too am a 9th generation, not Hoosier, but American, ever since Heinrich Berger moved from Dornstein, Germany to Bethel, Pennsylvania in 1760. So my roots run very deep as well. I do want to talk, mostly about county training, but there are also a lot of other legislation that got passed this year, and I just want to touch briefly on it. I'm not going to delay your lunch at all because I really don't have a whole lot to say about county training or county official training. But I have been asked to mention the change that went forward with the COIT boards being able to adopt the wheel tax. If you're a COIT county, you as the auditor probably know a lot about this, but if you have CAGIT, you're probably not very familiar. Essentially what the COIT board does, or what the COIT board is a collection of the fiscal bodies in your county that vote by population share, with the county council voting for the population that lives in the unincorporated area. And on June 1st, that board, and it exists in every county, even though you may never have used it, that board can adopt the excise surtax and wheel tax if your county council hasn't adopted it in some form already. And what your office is going to see is if one of these units, if the city council of X city votes to move this forward, vote by resolution, and of course they have to notice these meetings, they're going to send that resolution to your office and to the other fiscal bodies in your county. And you're going to have to appropriate or divide up those votes based on the census figures from a few years ago. Now, you should have that information. I think we've been trying to communicate with you a lot about how this would work in your county. But if over 51% of the units representing that population number vote yes through a resolution, then the excise surtax wheel tax goes into effect in your county. If they get it adopted by July 1st, all these units, and there's a short amount of time here available, then your taxpayers would start seeing that on their 2014 excise tax bills. And the county, even if the county council voted no, if they don't have enough votes to stop it themselves, the county would still be getting the additional road dollars that come from that local tax. I also wanted to mention a bill that the auditors had some input on. It had to do with excise deductions for veterans. There had been some confusion about if a veteran doesn't own property, how does that deduction roll over to their excise tax? Well, there was legislation that got passed in 1546, which basically created a new veterans deduction. And this may be something that Kathy is going to talk about tomorrow morning. But it's essentially a new deduction capped at $70 and only $2. However, the governor vetoed that bill on Thursday. And it had a lot of other tax issues in it, which I think he really was opposed to. Now, I'm not saying that veto is going to stand, because as you probably know, the legislature can override governor's vetoes, and they already have a day scheduled on their calendar if they need to do that in June. And since that bill passed 49-1 in the House and 99 to 0 in the House and 49-1 in the Senate, my suspicion is the legislature may override that veto, and very quickly. But again, it's kind of a thing that's hanging out there still for us, even though session's now been over for a couple weeks. So on to my real presentation. This is some background. This is going to hopefully be old information for you, so I'm going to touch just on the changes as we move forward here. We obviously have now required county training for all the row offices, except for, I'm sure the sheriff has some kind of required training. Maybe he doesn't, especially if he's not gone through a law enforcement academy. But certainly county auditors and all the offices that you deal with most in the courthouse do now have required training. The only ones that really don't are council and commissioners, which may need the training most, of course. I think I've made that joke probably more times than I should, since we represent the county commissioners and council as well. But the legislation that did get passed this year is House Enrolled Act 1333, and it made some, I would call them technical corrections, though there will be some substantive changes that you'll notice. The one that really kind of spurred a lot of these changes is the fact that when this got through or got passed for the surveyors, all those surveyors that were registered land surveyors thought, man, I've got more training than all these other guys. I don't need to be included. So they exempted themselves out of the bill, not realizing they were also exempting themselves out of the money. That county official training fund is only for those that this training applies to. And since they cut themselves out, they weren't eligible for the money. So a lot of this is putting these land surveyors under the same type of training requirements that the other non-registered land surveyor, county surveyors have to do. Those are the offices, the first point there that have it. One of the changes, and this is the second bullet here, is that when this bill was initially passed, it said officials who are elected after November 6th. Now, of course, Election Day in 2012 was November 6th. So now it's changed to on or after. Hopefully nobody got tripped up on this too bad, not getting a training course reimbursed. But, and this is a retroactive provision, if you just got elected last year, this is your first year as an auditor, yes, you are eligible to get reimbursed through the county official training fund, and of course these hourly requirements your office and your position do fall under. They also included appointed officials, and I know we have a couple here in the audience. Yes, if you were appointed under this current statute, even though you weren't elected traditionally, you are required to take these hours and you can use the county official training fund. I don't think this is any change, but I just wanted to review exactly what the dollars are, where they come from. Make sure that of course, with the auditors, and we heard the discussion from Debbie about that Homestead Verification Fund, the $100,000 that you can deposit each year, that money could be used for training courses because that's tied in. Like most of these issues with deductions, and the homestead is the most important one. Always an appropriated fund. One of the questions or criticisms that we got, at least from some auditors or from some other county officials, were that the county council, once this fund was established, said, well, now that we have a county official training fund, there's no need anymore to use general fund dollars. Now, that was not what statute says. This meeting, as a state called meeting, needs to come out of general fund by statute. But we put in statute this year that, no, this is not the only source of revenue for county training. This is a supplemental fund. So yes, there's an additional pot dedicated specifically for training, but particularly if you're a county that does not have a lot of transactions through your recorder's office, more rural county, you're not going to generate the fee revenue that would go into this fund to probably pay for these training courses in total. Now, a larger county with a greater population, more transactions, this may be enough to cover your bills, but otherwise, yes, the council, you may still need to dip into the general fund for county official training. I've already mentioned the appointed individuals in addition to those caucused in and traditionally elected. I just mentioned that the state called meetings are out of general fund primarily. No real changes on the use of these dollars. It really is just who and under what circumstances those officials can dip into the training fund. The training courses that we offer this meeting, clearly. The newly elected NEO date that we have, and that was something I want to mention. That training that we do pre-election, or post-election, but pre-January 1st when auditors and others take their office, we do that so that on their first day, this newly elected official, they have some background and some education already underneath their belt to put when they get into the office, or to use when they get into the office. And we certainly consider that part of not just the hourly requirements, but also eligible if the council wants to pay out of the county official training fund. So that was another, I would say, purely technical correction. If you do go to our NEO course or another one before you actually take office on January 1, yes, that is reimbursable as well. We do all of our classes. Most of the AIC Institute courses are all on webinar now, because we understand that training budgets are stressed, even with the addition of the new fund. And you may not have the ability to travel, but if you want to participate in these, and we hope you do, you can obviously take advantage of our webinar classes as well. And your regional meetings, these training requirements are adopted or at least established by your own association. And if there are changes that you want to make, if there's additional curriculum you want added in, if there are classes that you don't see on the list that you think should be, talk it amongst your association, speak to your leadership, and then you can amend your own training plan, make that submission to the State Board of Accounts for them to certify, and that's how it's done. We really, now that I think we've got the technical issues ironed out, we really kind of want to keep the legislature out of this from here on out. So please, it's designed for you to have control over your own training and your own requirements, and we'd like to keep it that way. This is definitely a membership-driven exercise here, and it's good that it stays that way. So this is my contact info. Again, I told you I'd be short and sweet and not keep you from lunch, and I hope I've done that. If you do have any other questions, obviously, I handle a lot more issues than just county training, and I'm happy to talk about that. I'll be here all day today. Thank you very much.